All right. Every year, I give my preseason power rankings for how I expect each team to perform in the regular season. It usually leads to a lot of interesting discussion, and I think it's a fun video to make. And I figured, well, let me now go back and let's talk about where I projected each team to, how I projected each team to finish and how they ended up finishing. What was I wrong about? What was I stupid about? Or what was I wrong about? But honestly, I still kind of say, well, made sense given the information I had at the time. Let's get into all of it. These were the bottom four teams I had finishing in the 2023 season, and you see right off the bat two glaring just misses here at number 32 and 30. As the Texans I put at 32 entering the season, they would go on to win a playoff game. The Rams I had at 30, they would go on to make the postseason, albeit not win a playoff game, but they came close against Detroit. So definitely two misfires there. What happened? What went wrong there? Even the Bears, you could argue, were a little better than I had them, but we're in the ballpark at least. Cardinals, I was kind of right, right on the money there with the Cardinals, I think. The Texans, though, what went wrong? I mean, to me, I have no real, I don't look back at that and say, wow, I was stupid. I look back at that and say, well, yeah, I mean, rookie quarterbacks usually don't come in and play very well year one. Stroud was awesome. Nico Collins stepped up and had an amazing year two. I didn't expect that to happen. Tank Dell came through and was awesome right away. I didn't expect that to happen. Their defense, a lot of their young players on defense stepped up. Like Derek Stingley went from having a rough year one to a really good year two. D'Amico Ryans looked like an awesome head coach. These things are hard to predict. And so again, I kind of say with every year, it's like any team could make the playoffs. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? And good example of my number 32 team winning a playoff game. The Rams, I probably should have given more credit to just the good players they have, like Stafford, like Aaron Donald and the Sean McVay stuff. I thought their defense would be a mess, and at times it was, but they were able to still, I think, patch up enough. I thought the Rams would be good eventually. I thought they were in kind of a rebuild year, and I still kind of think they were. They were just able to do so much to patch things up. Well, it ended up working out. So, yeah, a couple misfires there, but, again, looking back, I can see why I thought that they would be misses. The next four, you could argue these are all misfires, although I wouldn't say either were massively missed, but I definitely was. Probably the one I was most off about would be the Colts, who had a solid season. Even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, we're able to be a lot better than what my expectations were. So I think maybe the Frank Reich stuff, which was kind of made them not look as great 2 years ago, which maybe colored my opinion of what they were able to do last year a bit. So that's definitely a miss there. Atlanta definitely were better than my expectations, but not by a lot. They still didn't have a great season. I think their defense played a lot better than I expected going in. That was kind of the main thing. I still was never going to be too high on a Desmond Ridder team, so I don't crush myself for that take. The Carolina Panthers as well here, probably too high on them as they finished with the worst record in football. I had them being okay, so I thought their defense would be good enough, and I thought Bryce Young would show some flashes. I didn't think he would be a mess year one. He was a mess year one, so wrong about that. And then the Raiders, it's weird. My overall guess on the Raiders wasn't bad, 7-10, but I think I had the Raiders with they'll have a good offense, but their defense will stink. And it's kind of the opposite this season. So I was, it was almost like task failed successfully kind of thing with the Raiders here at 25. Next tier, so this is 24 through 21. And so, at 24, hey, if you ever accuse me of being biased, because that happens a lot for whatever reason, people just love to accuse content creators of being biased when they don't say something nice about their favorite team. Just would like to put on the record, I was too low on my own favorite team. The Buccaneers, I projected to go 7-10. And, I did say at the time, I thought there was a chance that what ended up happening could happen, like their defense could play well at times, and if Baker Mayfield goes back to Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, I just wasn't willing to project that as the most likely outcome, but it happened, so I was pleasantly surprised about that. The New York Giants, I had winning 7 games. They ended up winning 6 games, and the Daniel Jones injury probably hurt them a little bit, so I felt like I was kind of right about the Giants. A lot of people thought the Giants might still be good. They were a playoff team last year. I think I was right about that. Saints, I was a little too low on here. Again, same with the Buccaneers. I had them both going 7-10. I had the Saints winning the division at 7-10. They win a couple more games than I was expecting, so I think their defense played very well. They seem all right for next year once Carr started playing better. So definitely a bit too low on them. Also, the Green Bay Packers, I mean, it's weird. So they end up winning 2 more games than I projected, but they also win a playoff game and crush the Cowboys and play really well against the 49ers. So, the Packers, who they were in the beginning of the season, very different than who they were at the end of the season. But again, when there's a young quarterback, what are you going to, how can you sit here and say, oh, I knew Jordan Love would be great? Did you know, or did you just hope he was great and you're a Packers fan, right? Like, no one, I don't think you ever know if a quarterback is going to be great before you see them play. So I'm willing to say, again, was eventually wrong, but I think I was wrong because of, I didn't expect Jordan Love to come in and play as well as he did in year 1. The next chunk of teams is, so first we have number 20, the Balls. That's the Washington Commanders. I thought they'd be decent this year. I didn't expect their defense to just completely fall off a cliff like it ended up falling off a cliff. So that was why I was wrong about them. Vikings, I feel like I was kind of right on about as a mediocre. Maybe they would have been a little better had Cousins been healthy the whole year, but also I wasn't expecting their defense to play as well as it ultimately did. So the Flores thing, maybe I underestimated a little bit. The Patriots, I thought they'd be decent as well. They really were not this season at all. I thought Mac Jones would look better. He looked way worse, so I don't know what happened there. I was expecting him to look at least solid with a decent offensive coordinator, and I thought, the defense was good. I thought it would be good, but the offense was just a mess. So, yeah. And then the Browns, I was never as high on the Cleveland Browns as other people were. The Browns did achieve my expectations, even with a lot of injuries. So, they had 2 more wins than I projected them to in the regular season. I don't know if I would say I was massively wrong, but, was too low on them ultimately. The next 4, so the Denver Broncos, I thought they'd be okay this year. I had them 9-8. They went 8-9. So I feel kind of right about that. The Titans at 15, who were not quite that as good as I thought they'd be this season. I thought they'd still be okay. It's like I was kind of maybe dismissing some of the issues of they're the Titans. They'll figure it out. Well, they ended up going 6-11, whereas I had them 9-8. So that was definitely a misfire here. I mean, at the same time, though, I didn't expect Ryan Tannehill to just fall off a cliff. I don't crush myself for that so much. Steelers was right on. Had them going 10-7. They went 10-7. And the Jaguars, I think I got to pat myself on the back a little bit for only having the Jaguars go 10-7. A lot of people were talking about them as a lot better than that. That was one of my bigger criticisms when I made that video. People were saying way too low on the Jaguars. Well, no. In fact, that was actually a game too high on them, as it turns out. So I feel all right about that take. 9 through 12 here. The Detroit Lions, another team I was too low on. They go 13-4 and win multiple playoff games. That's definitely not the 12th best team who I had going 10-7. I think why I was lower on them is I think Jared Goff had probably a career year. So, okay, when a quarterback has a career year, well, then you're probably going to overperform my expectations. And I also I thought their secondary would probably be a bigger issue than it ended up being. This season, they were able to still kind of make it work for the most part. It's still reared its ugly head at times. But yeah, as a whole, definitely too low on the Lions entering the year. Chargers did not quite win 11 games. And listen, they probably win more than 5 if Herbert doesn't go down. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Quentin Johnson would be good. The receiving core it wasn't what I thought it could be. I thought, hey, good receiving core, Justin Herbert. It can happen. It didn't happen. That was bad job by me. Bad job by me. I missed that one. Then the Dallas Cowboys, who I had winning 11 games. They won 12. Feel like I'm kind of right around there. They're maybe a little better than I expected, but nothing crazy. Seahawks, I had them winning 11 games. They only won 9. I also kind of feel like they let a few games get away from them, though. So, I don't know. I think they were better than maybe the 9 wins would say, but at the end of the day, if you don't win more games, you don't win more games. So I was ultimately too high on them as well. 5 through 8, a handful of teams that had winning 12 games. 2 of them missed the playoffs, but kind of still an understandable misfires here with the Bengals and Jets. Both of them missed their starting quarterbacks. I think being high on the Bengals was right. Obviously, I feel like that feels fair. And then being high on the Jets, we still kind of don't know. I think maybe I was probably a bit too high on the Jets, even with the Aaron Rodgers injury. It feels like they had other issues, but I bet they still are a playoff team with Rodgers, I think, given how good that defense still looked last year. Yep, Bills, I had winning 12 games. They won 11 and looked really good. The Niners, I was probably a bit too low on them. I think I was just, the only reason was, I actually predicted their win total at the end of the day, but I think I was just a bit hesitant towards the Brock Purdy situation. And if, what are we going to get out of Brock Purdy? I think I maybe dropped him like a win or so for that. So I still thought the 49ers were, like, they were my number 2 team in the NFC, but that's why they weren't number 1. My top 4 are, I would say, 2 great takes and 2 really not great takes here. So number 4, the Ravens, I think that's a pretty good take, actually, saying that the Ravens are a top 4 team entering the year. Like, that was not what people were saying at all. I think, I don't know exactly like what the Vegas odds were or anything. I should look that up. They were 7th best odds, so maybe not quite as good of a take as I thought it was, but still, 7th greatest odds to win the Super Bowl. I had them at 4th, so I would say that's a good quality take there by me, even if it ultimately did not work out. And I should mention, the Houston Texans were tied for last place in odds, so even though I had them at 32, I was not alone there. But anyways, and also, it was a lot of interesting stuff there. But moving on, Eagles at number 3, which, okay, listen, looks like a horrible take now, right? But at the time, again, using the odds, Eagles had the 2nd highest odds to win the Super Bowl entering the season. So there was a lot of people that thought the Eagles could win the Super Bowl, and for a while it looked like that was a fair take. And then the defense just was I didn't expect it to be that bad. I mean, when you're turning to Matt Patricia to try and save the defense, forget about it. It's over. So my biggest misfire probably was, like, in hindsight, you can see they still trusted all those old secondary players, and they missed the linebackers who were a big part of that team. Like, it makes sense that they would take a step back, but again, easy to say in hindsight. Still at the Chiefs at number 2. Chiefs deserve. And what's funny is I actually almost correctly, my preseason assessment of the Chiefs was almost exactly right, where I said, wow, the Chiefs have all these issues now. Like, the tackle situation doesn't look great. I think their receiving core has gotten worse. I don't care. They're going to win 14 games. And if anything, I was too low on them because I had them at 2, but I wasn't too low on them. I was too high on the Dolphins. I bought in. I fully bought in. I thought the Dolphins would be good. That was my one take all year. I was like, no, trust me. Tua can throw in the cold. What are you talking about? This is going to work. And again, there was a point when it looked good. Like, early on in the year, they looked like the best team in football, but it did not last the whole year. I thought their defense would be great with Vic Fangio. It was better, but it still wasn't great. So, yeah, misfire there by Miami. But you know what? It's not so fun to just give the Chiefs the number 1 seed entering the year. You got to do something different. But in hindsight, should have just given the Chiefs number 1. So, yeah, those are my those would be my preseason expectations. And didn't all live up to what I thought would be. But hey, predictions are hard, right? I mean, if anytime you look at one of these videos and you say, man, how did, you work in football, how did you mess it up this badly? Well, I would challenge you to, maybe write down your list of, like, what you expect in the preseason, and then the year after, go back and look at it and see how you thought. It's a lot harder than you might think. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.